Hello, I'm EnterElysium, and welcome to Let's Play Aurora 4X. Aurora 4X, for those of you who don't know, is the Dwarf Fortress of space games. Basically, as a space game, it's a 4X. The 4X on the end of the title gives it away. Explore, exploit, expand, exterminate, not necessarily in that order. Normally, exploiting comes after the expanding. But like Dwarf Fortress, it has a pretty horrific UI and it's not a learning curve, it's just a cliff. It's a cliff with overhangs and no handholds. So it does take a bit of accessibility it takes some work to get into. But it's totally worth it, especially if you are a massive space nerd or want like a really in-depth space game. So we're going to be diving into this, and I'm going to just load up the game now. Please bear in mind that the game does look a little bit old-fashioned. It was written in Visual Basic 6, which is at least 20 years old. I can't remember how old it is, but it's also about 20 years out of date as a programming language. There is a version being worked at the moment in C#, but that's another story. So we're going to hit up new game, and yes, the game is going to look very interesting. So, game name, this is going to be YouTube 2, because I actually did a playthrough 2 years ago. Same version. The game actually hasn't been updated in 2 years, so still 7.1. Starting year, let's make it 2020, so it's going to be like 2 years from now. Maximum number of systems, we'll make this 180. So I'm going to go through these and explain them as we go. Please bear in mind that because of the learning cliff, if you are a veteran Aurora player, you will still maybe get something out of watching this because it's going to be fun. But I am going to go a little bit slow to be able to explain all the options and all the different things and what they do and how to approach the game, just because I really, really enjoy the game, and without this sort of aid, it's very hard to get into. And basically, I'm going to say it's impossible to get into. So we're going to go nice and slow. Also, please bear in mind, this is being recorded live on Twitch. So I've got Twitch chat up on my other screen, but I will not be referring to Twitch, really, during the recordings, and you should be all good to get a normal YouTube video out of this. But if you want to watch it live, you can do so. So we're going to go for 180 systems, just because more systems means there's a lot more to explore before you find stuff, depending on if we increase the amount of stuff. And if we increase the amount of stuff, the game's going to get slow. The chances of things chugging are much higher. So we're only going to go for 180 stars. Difficulty modifier is going to be normal. Race generation chance. Right, so this is, if you go into a system that has a habitable planet, what is the chance that someone is already living on that planet? And by living and someone else, it means I'm going to create an entire new empire in this one solar system. And then accelerate time for them, give them a load of stuff to keep them somewhat level with you. We don't want NPRs. NPRs are non-player races, so it's basically AI empires. We don't want AIs creating other AIs. Partly because that would mean that there'd be a lot of AIs, but mainly because if an AI meets an AI, they're going to talk. They're going to talk a lot. And by talk, I mean they're going to wander around, bump into each other, maybe intercept each other, possibly even fire missiles. And I'll be sitting in the game going, what's going on? Why are things running really slow? Because they will slow things down. So we're going to put that on 0. Effectively, there is a 0% chance that if an NPR walks into a habitable system that there will be anyone there. For us, though, it's fine. For us, it's fun. We're actually going to up our chance to 35%. Don't mess with construction time normally. That's a bit more an advanced thing. Basically, it says that every this amount of seconds, we will calculate construction. It doesn't calculate it every second because that would be a lot slower. So I think it's every 5 days. Minimum comments per system, 0, so systems can have some variety. Empire title. Now, this is thanks to the meta game. I'm running a bit of a meta game on my Discord, so Patreons and Twitch subscribers can get access to my Discord. And then I've got a whole section where we're running kind of a meta campaign. Effectively, they are going to be directing us a little bit. They're going to be the political influence behind the scenes of the Allied Commonwealth of Elysia, which is the name that they came up with. And generally, they'll be doing like certain votes and so on. And every 10 years, we'll probably have elections where we'll elect a more xenophobic or maybe a more isolationist or an expansionist party. And then we'll kind of try and go a certain way. So if they, say that we need to be expansionist, we'll maybe put more effort into expanding. So we're going to be role-playing this a little bit. Empire short name is just going to be Elysia. Human, Earth. You can actually start on a non-Sol system. So you can start with something that doesn't have Earth, Jupiter, Mars. We're going to just, for simplicity's sake, because everyone can recognize it, start in Sol. Government type, they voted on this as well. And the Discord decided we are a high imperial monarchy. with me as Emperor, which is fine. Main Empire theme, United Kingdom. This won't really determine anything because we're actually going to rename most of our stuff. But if you select, say, Warhammer 40k Empire, you get ship names based off of Warhammer 40k, like Righteous Fury and Divine Blade and Empire's Fist, Imperial Fist or whatever. You could have them named after Tolkien, and it'll name it after things in the Tolkien universe. You know, if you were to name them after Norse, you'd get like the Thor, etc. We're going to leave it as United Kingdom. It won't make much of a difference. Commander theme is going to be English. I think that also determines the ranks. So the ranks will be Lieutenant Commander, Commander, Captain, and so forth. Trans-Newtonian Empire. This is an interesting one. Basically, the entire premise behind the game is that at some point, people discover trans-Newtonian elements, which, by being trans-Newtonian, they basically be like, hi, we can break Newtonian physics. In fact, we can just break physics entirely with our magical elements, or at least they have an entire new rule or set of physics. We're actually not going to start trans-Newtonian, partly because I think conventional is a more fun way to start. You basically start with a modern tech level, and you need to research trans-Newtonian. However, I'm going to then add a few things just so we can skip through the very boring part of conventional starts. But for the sake of this, we're going to start conventional. Bear in mind that every other AI MPRs are all going to start trans-Newtonian, so they are actually going to have an advantage. Note that also if you do start trans-Newtonian, you also normally start with tech points that basically give you 3 techs. So you don't start very basic, you start a little way in. And I think that would kind of defeat the purpose of me trying to explain the game as we start, because we'd actually start somewhat into the game. So we'll start conventional. We will leave species tolerance as it is. The human tolerances are fine. Basically, this is saying, oh, you can only have so much gravity, so much oxygen pressure, so much temperature, so much atmosphere. Our starting population, normally start with 500 million. I'm going to up this a little bit to give us a little bit of a kickstart since we start conventional. We're going to start with about a tenth of our current population. So what happened to the other 90% is up to you. Maybe there was a nuclear war started by some crazy dictator with nuclear weapons, and then 90% of the population died. Or maybe there was a giant asteroid which brought the trans-Newtonian elements to Earth. Either way, we're going to leave the rest of these as defaults as well. Number of starting shipyards, I don't think this actually works. We'll set it to 2. I don't think that'll actually work. Number of starting research facilities, 30. If we start with 4, this game will be incredibly slow. Normally when you start Trans-Newtonian, you start with about 30. So we're going to start with 30 as a fair start. No missile bases for conventional start. If you start conventional, normally you will have missile silos, basically ICBMs, nuclear missiles. They are useless, they are pointless, they will not do a damn thing. They are maybe good for nuking yourself with, and that's about it. So we don't need them. If we had them, we'd only have them cluttering up the place and we'd have to take them apart. They're actually useless, so we're just going to not start with those. So after the nuclear war, after the meteor impacted or whatever, we got rid of nuclear missile bases and united as a species to take to the skies. Under my divine leadership, of course. Starting system, we're going to have 4 jump points out of Sol. That seems reasonable. You can put it on random. Problem is, if you put it on random, you might end up with 1, and it will slow down your start a lot, or if you might get, like, 6 or 7, at which point you become very accessible and you've got a lot of things going on. We're going to leave it at 4. It allows, a certain amount of, right, we understand we're going to have ways to get out of the Sol system. Your jump points basically lead to other systems. We could start with System Body Survey Complete, or Jump Point Survey Complete. We won't, because it's cool to explain about these things and show you them off in a somewhat controlled solar system. Starting tech, we're not going to start with any tech points. Generate Sol system, create Space Master Empire so you can create your own starting system. We're just going to start on Sol. Non-NPR computer opponents, precursors, ancient robot-controlled ships. Yeah, they're cool. Star Swarm, they're crazy. They're scary if you encounter them early on, but sure, we'll have those. Extragalactic invaders. Incredibly tough. We're not going to have these right now. We might turn them on later. Incredibly tough. Non-NPR races. Create 1 or more computer-controlled opponent. Yes, and we'll have 2 of them. And these are going to be at the start. So instead of being ones that are created on a solar system when we enter it, and it has a habitable planet, which are the ones up here, these are people who will be created at game start and will be working in the background. So there will be 2 full empires. Bear in mind that they, of course, start Trans-Newtonian, not conventional, so that's going to be fun. Generate empires as NPRs, and then new races create during blah, 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 blah. Yes. NPR activate non-NPR computer opponents. No. If this box is checked, NPRs may activate non-NPR forces, such as precursors or starswarm during system generation. So basically, when they explore, they can create these guys. Which would be fair, but it would also slow down the game. So we're actually not going to go for that. Generate only non-Transnewtonian races. So basically generate conventional. We're not going to go for that because conventional opponents don't actually tech up to Transnewtonian. They stay conventional. So that would be pretty useless to us. No overhauls. Basically, ships have to be overhauled if they're military, so they have to have maintenance and stuff. You can get rid of that. We're not gonna. Jump gates and all jump points. So to go through a jump point, you need to have a jump gate on it, or you need to have a jump drive yourself. Or go with a ship that has a jump drive that is capable of taking you. If you want, you can start with every single jump point has a jump gate. Jump gates basically are stabilized wormholes. You don't need a jump drive to go through them, you can just go through them. You can chuck a tennis ball and the tennis ball will pop out at Alpha Centauri. Otherwise, you need a jump drive or a jump gate. This is basically, everything is a jump gate. We're not going to go for that, because it is a simplification, and I kind of want to talk about jump drives and jump gates, and it adds a bit more depth. But if you want to just simplify things to start off with, that is an option. Commanders will leave realistic commander promotions, political bonuses. I'm going to turn that off, just because it actually results in a message saying, "Oh, political bonus has gone up," which I just don't want the message. But you can actually have people get promoted because they are good at political maneuvering rather than actually being good. If you leave that on, that will be a thing. We're just going to turn it off mainly because I want to get rid of the message. Inexperienced fleet. Fleets react very slowly. In fact, sometimes they can take 10 minutes to react to your orders if they are not trained to work together. With this, you have to actually train them to work together. We're going to leave it on. It's annoying, but I'm going to leave it on. Real star systems. We're going to be renaming our star systems after people in the Patreon list. So people who... I do the shilling part now. People who support the channel on Patreon, allow me to actually, pay for internets and stuff, can get the name put into the game at certain tiers, and then we randomize the list, and then we pull off of it. That's what we're going to be using for our system names. Which means that we don't actually worry too much about real star systems. This is not going to be too important. We still will get, this is going to be a trinary, this will be a binary based on the real-life counterparts, but other than that, it's not going to have too much of an effect. If we turn this off, you will get crazy stars being created, nebulas and black holes and all kinds of jazz. We're going to simplify things a little bit, just leave that on. Orbital motion, planets and moons will move, asteroids will not. We're going to leave that checked off because it will slow down the game. Same system truce. If two NPRs appear in the same system, they will have a 10-year truce. That's fine. That would be a problem anyway. This area up here, Space Master password, we're going to leave this blank. I'll talk about that now. So, while that creates our game, Space Master is basically, if you've ever played a tabletop role-playing game, you've got like a dungeon master or a games master, a person who controls the universe and makes it fun for you to play in. Space Master is basically that. It allows you to go out of your empire and then fiddle with stuff. You can delete ships, probably don't do that, it can cause issues, create stuff, add stuff. You can actually add a password so that you can then send it to people and then take it back, and you can try and do some sort of role-playing thing. We can leave it blank so that we can just turn it on and off. And what we'll do when we start is we won't actually start playing conventional. We're gonna give ourselves the Transnewtonian tech. Because the Transnewtonian tech is what you need to do basically anything in this game. The basic Transnewtonian tech unlocks everything else. And while we could start researching it and then sit here for a year, we're just going to give it to ourselves using the Space Master, just so I can introduce you to the Space Master. We're also going to add a couple of other things. Primarily going to add ourselves a... Ooh, hello. Yay, game. We're going to primarily give ourselves a few other shipyards to be able to build ships with, because otherwise that'll be a bit slow. So, everything is good. All of our things are selected. Let's play the game. This is Aurora. This is literally, actually, this is Aurora right here. We're going to put this down here, though, and we're going to go Space Master on. Normally, I'd use Control S, but I'm just showing you that Space Master is here. Enter password. There's no password. Bam. Now, if we go to Empire, System Map, this will be the actual screen you'll spend most of your time in. Welcome to the Sol System. It is a mess. It's a blob. It's lots of names. It's confusing and weird. Oh, God. Hi. If we zoom in, this is the asteroid belt. We zoom in further. There's Mercury. There's Mars. Where are we? There's Earth. Hello. There's a lot of stuff on our screen. We're very quickly just going to get rid of a lot of this by clicking... Ooh, by the way, I want to show order and distance, show fleet contact heading, show events. We get an event log down here. And if we go to display 2, asteroids with colonies only, asteroids with minerals only. We're going to go asteroids with minerals only. Suddenly, all the asteroids disappear. That's not because they don't have minerals, it's because we don't know of any minerals. We haven't actually surveyed those asteroids, so they could have some interesting trans-Newtonian minerals that we need. But we don't know. So, while we could look at that, that would just... There's no good information here. None of these are going to matter unless they have minerals on them. So we're going to just get rid of that. We're going to show geo-survey points. Actually, no, we won't. This basically says it'll take 1 geo-survey point to survey this. If we look at Mercury, it's going to take 244. Show mineral packet content, we'll turn that on. Mineral packets are basically... If I want to get resources from Mars to Earth, I could fly them over with a giant freighter. That would be time-consuming and boring. Or I could use a giant mass driver to fire them with a cannon at Earth. That's more fun. It also means that if you don't slow it down, bad things happen. If I fire, several hundred tons at a fraction of the speed of light at Earth and you don't catch it, bad things happen. So we're actually going to turn that on just so we can see what's going on when we fire those mineral packets. We won't be doing that just yet. Show fleet body coordinates. No. High survey location. And we'll turn combat stuff on as well. If we zoom out, you can now see we also have selected our grav survey points. So, these are our survey points to show where there is possibly a way to jump out of the system. I believe that's 30? Yeah, 30. So each of these could be one of our 4 exits to another system nearby. We need to survey them to check, though. Currently, we don't actually have that tech. We need to research that. Which brings me on to research! Hi, welcome to our research screen. This is stuff we're researching, this is stuff we could research, and this is a category. So we've got biology genetics, construction production, defensive, energy, logistics ground combat, missiles kinetics, power and propulsion, sensors and fire control. And straight away, we're going to go to construction production, and you'll see that we have trans-Newtonian technology. This is important. We need this to do basically anything. As you noticed when we went through, there's actually not many things here. What we're going to do is we're just going to give ourselves this tech. All of our other AI empires are going to start trans-Newtonian, so they start way ahead of time anyway with us. And we're going to hit trans-Newtonian technology and get instant. This is Space Master only. If I'm not Space Master, this button is grayed out. You don't have this ability. This is basically our god ability to go, actually, yes, you have this. So we're going to instant that. And bam. Notice that suddenly we have a lot more text to look at. There's quite a few. Over here, you'll see that we have a list of scientists. These are people who have bonuses to research. Now, one of the first things I want to do is have a look at power propulsion, which has stuff like reactors, etc. And also construction production, which has a lot of useful stuff like research rate, construction rate. I think sensors and fire control, because we've got geological survey sensors. Yeah. So a lot of this is going to be very important. This is actually where we're going to do our research. We're actually going to not queue up a research right yet, just because I want to do the other Space Master things first. For instance, our shipyards. You know when we set... Well, I've started with 2 shipyards. We only started with 1. I don't think that works for conventional starts. We have 1 shipyard of naval. Slipway 1, 1,000 tons. What this means is this shipyard creates a ship. It can only create 1 ship at a time because it's got 1 slipway, up to 1,000 tons because it's only got a capacity of 1,000 tons, and it can create naval ships, which means that it can create things that aren't commercial. This is actually going to slow down the start a fair bit, and again, all of our opponents will start with far more, so I'm actually going to just give ourselves a few of these. So to do that, we hit Space Master Shipyard mod. We will give ourselves another one. We're going to then remove this military tag and give ourselves 2 commercial. And then we are going to want to update these. So you are currently a 1 slipway, 1,000 ton. We'll change that to... change that to 5,000 ton. Or change it to 3,000 ton. Sure. You slipways, we're going to start with 2 slipways of 1,000 ton. You as commercial, we'll start with 10,000 ton. And you will start with 6,000 ton, 2 slipways. So we can create 2 ships at a time of 6,000 ton. There we go. We'll also need to rename these, and we can use the rename shipyard button here. And we can say, oh, you're going to be the Everest Naval Dockyard. And shortened it a little bit there. There we go. Everest Naval Dockyard. Now, the way we're going to be naming things in this game, we have a naming convention that, again, the Discord helpfully came up with. Welcome to Excel. There's going to be Excel documents happening. It's that kind of game. We have star systems named after patrons. We have ships named after historical figures, historical battles, mammals, authors, space. Basically, we go all the way down. You'll see that each thing has a naming convention. We go all the way down to Dockyard Naval. They're named after mountains, and commercial are named after lakes. So we're going to rename these, and I'll be back with you in a second. So, we've got the Everest Naval Dockyard, the Kilimanjaro Naval Dockyard, the Michigan Shipyard, and the Ness Shipyard. Loch Ness. Loch just means lake, so Ness Shipyard. With that, I think we just want to check on our industry. We start off with 2 ground force training. That's good. I think the one thing I want to change is our maintenance facilities. So currently we can only maintain a ship of 1,000 tons. That is going to be an issue. Any military ship will need maintenance. And since we now can create a ship of 3,000 tons, that's not going to be ideal. What I'll probably do is I'll up this, and I'll probably up it so we don't have to worry about it in the short term to 5,000 tons. Each maintenance facility is 200 tons. There are 5 of them, so that makes 1,000 tons. I need to add another 4,000 tons, so I need to add another 20 maintenance facilities. You don't need to memorize that just yet. So we're going to go SM mods, and we will change that to 20. And I think everything else here is good. Maybe set like a second tracking station, just in case things go wrong. That would make too much of a difference. Okay. Save those changes. Now, this still says 1,000 tons, but if we close it and reopen it, there we go. You'll see the shipyards have changed and maintenance facilities have changed as well. I'm actually make this, because it's only 1,000 tons, I actually make this 3 slipways. There we go. Right, and we're good to start. So, with all that done, we've space mastered all the things we want to do. Let's set ourselves some research. So, very first, we need to be able to create a ship. This ship needs to be able to go around a lot of our things in the system, like our moons, our planets, at least to look for more minerals, because this is going to be important to us. These are our special minerals. Geranium, neutronium, corbomite, tritanium, boronite, macassium, venderite, saurium, uridium, corundium, and gallusite. These are all the very special transnewtonian minerals that are going to be used by us. Currently we're only using saurium, and that's because we're actually converting it into fuel. Saurium is basically fuel. So that's actually been converted right now. Everything else we're going to use very shortly. We need to find more of that. We need to be able to expand, explore, exploit, and exterminate. So starting with the expanding, the exploring stuff, we need to actually be able to have a look around our solar system and actually research things here. So we will need geological survey sensors, and I don't think we have a matching scientist. Sensors and fire control. We've actually not got one. So I'm going to tell this construction production person, because they've got 25% bonus. What this means is they add 25% of the current labs that they are assigned again. So if I give you 10 labs, you'll create, 10 labs worth of science. If I give you 25% bonus, you'll actually create 12.5 labs worth of science. That seems like a good idea to me. So we're going to put you down with, say 8 labs. Create. Yes. However, if we go to power and propulsion, we want to do pressurized water reactor. Because right now, if we create a ship, apart from the fact it won't have any sensors, it's going to be using conventional engines. It's going to be using kerosene and locks and other very primitive methods of getting around. That's not going to be helpful. That's going to be so slow. In fact, that's going to be so slow, it's probably going to not get to its target. It's probably going to end up chasing its target in a tail chase scenario where its target is actually moving faster than it. In this game, things move at a certain speed. They don't accelerate and then flip over and then decelerate like they would in reality, because the transnewtonian minerals allow you to go to like a semi-fluid half dimension that means you can travel really fast, easily. But there's a top speed. Reasons. Basically reasons. So we want to research a pressurized water reactor, because that technology then leads us to nuclear thermal engines, which is going to be the first engine tech above conventional. We'll probably not want to settle for that. Our first ship is probably going to use at least nuclear pulse, so we'll start researching this, and I'm actually going to say matching scientist, power propulsion, because if a matching scientist is used, their bonus isn't 10%, their bonus is times 4, so this bonus is actually going to be 40% extra. So we're going to assign you, we're going to give you like 22. Oh, you can't use, your max labs are 5. Really? 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 Oh god. Okay, this is not a good start. You are trash. You are so bad. Right, they also have another stat, which I was going to hopefully ignore, which is the max amount of labs that they can be assigned. You can have a maximum of 5 labs, which is just so low as to basically be useless. So I'm going to instead assign anyone else to this job. And I'm going to give you 20 labs. Now, I'm actually going to give you a job anyway, because I want you to learn and to get experience and to eventually have more labs. You need a minimum of 15, really. Power and propulsion is one of these things that you need people doing. The two things that you constantly want people doing are construction production and power propulsion. So we're going to give you a job with 2 labs, and we'll probably just tell you to do fuel consumption. Ooh, we could tell you to do jump point theory. We will need that. We'll probably hand it over to someone later on, but yeah, we'll start work on jump point theory. Okay. Since we need jump point theory pretty strongly, I'm actually going to give you all your labs. Give you a couple of labs so you're kind of working the same speed. Okay, so with that, we've got 15 labs working on pressurized water reactor, 10 on geological survey, and 5 on jump point theory. Jump point theory is going to be done in 3 years' time. Because it's a 5,000 RP research point project. The others are much more simple, so we're going to have those done in June and May of this year. Currently, it's the 1st of January 2020. So you'll get to work with that. One other thing we need to do, we need to go to industry. Now, industry is where you're going to do all your things. You're going to build all your buildings and all the extra stuff that goes with them. However, we have just started a whole new world. A whole new world. A new fantastic industrial base. We need to figure out how to take our conventional industry, our normal, boring conventional industry, and turn it into awesome stuff. Because currently we have, if we bring up the summary panel, conventional industry, 1,130 conventional industry. This is trash. Conventional industry is useless. It does everything, but it is not very good at it. In fact, it is, I think it's like 1/10 as good. So like, one conventional industry will build one thing. A construction factory can build 10 of them. So what we're going to want to do is we want to convert a lot of these. So let's say we want to make 700 construction factories. So we're going to convert 700 conventional industry to construction factories, and we'll want to use something like 70% of our industrial base for that. Then we'll do the same for mines, because we will need, you know, say 300 mines. And we would want something along the lines of 25%. And then finally, we want fuel refinery, 100. This is going to leave 30, actually. We'll leave the last 5% on that. Might actually give you that last 30. There we go. Now, looking at this is going to take 18 years. This is going to take 21 years. And this is going to take 35 years. That's not going to be the case. Currently, they're converting using conventional industry. And like I said, conventional industry works a tenth the speed. I think it's a tenth the speed. I could be wrong on that. So instead, this is actually going to speed up. As conventional industry gets turned to construction factories are then going to convert more conventional industry to construction factories, which is going to convert more conventional industry. As you get it, it's going to speed up very, very quickly. So, with that all done, we don't actually want to build any ships right now. We can't actually train any ground units because we don't have the new tech for ground units. I think we're basically good to hit forwards. Which means we're going to be talking about increment time and subpulse length. So, before we hit next turn, effectively, it's not a turn-based game, it's not a real-time game, it's basically a form of pausable real-time, where instead of being you can pause occasionally, it's you can advance time occasionally, but the rest of the time it's paused. So, you can start by moving forward 5 seconds, or 20 minutes, or 30 days. You can hit auto turns, so it'll go 30 days, 30 days, 30 days if you want. And we can also then change the subpulse length. For the moment, we're going to leave it on automatic. But if, say, you're in a high-pressure combat situation and you want it to calculate every 5 seconds, you can tell it to calculate every 5 seconds. If something comes up, it will pause. If you do, say, a day, and you're in a combat situation, it'll skip forwards a day. And you'll be like, oh god, what's happened? And it'll be like, hey, something happened in that day. And you'll look and your fleet will be entirely obliterated by missiles. So we can leave it on automatic for the moment, but just bear in mind you normally want to focus on this when it comes to a combat situation and bring it down to like 5 seconds or so. We're going to probably want to do automatic. We'll probably want to do a 30-day skip. But we're going to do that next episode. This is effectively our setup episode. I know I've been talking for a while, and I know that a lot of you will be like, when's the game happening? This is basically so that I can talk to people who are wanting to play along, who are wanting to get into the game themselves and actually need to get to grips with the whole learning cliff that there is. I know I'm going relatively fast, but luckily, it being a video, you can pause and rewind. But hopefully you get the idea. If you do have any questions, feel free to dump them in the comment section. I think the Aurora community in general is a really, really good community. They're very helpful. There's also a Reddit, a forum, a wiki, and a Discord. And everyone there is incredibly helpful, so thoroughly recommend it. But that's it for this episode. If you have liked, do remember to like. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing and doing the bell and then clicking the thing that you need to... all the things, or just, follow my Twitter. Also, please bear in mind that it's a very niche game. Aurora is a very niche game. It's a lot of fun when you get into it, but there is a massive learning cliff, and as such, it's hard for me to gauge if people are going to really enjoy this or not on the YouTube channel. I personally really enjoy the game, but it's going to be tough for me to really gauge that. So if you do like it, do feel free to leave a comment, let me know, etc. if you want to see more. If you're like, maybe, I'm not sure, I'm not convinced, maybe I'll make a decision in the next few episodes. Let me know that stuff down below. That's really good feedback to get, as is, with any new series or new game on the channel, but particularly when it comes to something like Aurora, because it's a little bit off the beaten track. For now, though, I've been EnterElysium. Like, subscribe. Until next time, stay shiny.